Welcome, everyone, to the latest episode of the Table Rush Talk Show. Today, we're venturing into the realm of empathetic and kind business practices with our incredible guest, Sarah Santacroce. With a rich background in LinkedIn consulting and now a forerunner as a conscious business coach, Sarah is a beacon for a more humane approach to marketing. She's an author, podcaster, and coach who is redefining the norms of traditional marketing. Often compared to the female Seth Godin, Sarah is here to enlighten us about the intricacies of conscious marketing that truly resonates with our values. Prepare to be inspired and to learn how to revolutionize your business approach with empathy and kindness. Join us as we delve into the art of marketing your business in a gentle yet impactful way. Let's welcome Sarah to the show. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks, Mischa. What a beautiful introduction. I'm honored. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. And I get the sense, we've talked a couple of times, but you went from a more traditional, I don't know, would you call it aggressive approach to marketing to this more gentler side of marketing? Yes, am I saying that right?
Yeah, I always tried to find my way in the traditional marketing world and the kind of the aggressive, pushy techniques that we were being taught. I always tried to somehow stay within integrity and do it my way. But yes, I probably more than once kind of deviated from my own values and just did what the big guru marketers were telling us to do. To eventually every year a bit more finding myself really questioning what I was doing, like realizing that this is not me. These are not my values, not the values that I stand for. And then eventually having kind of like a yeah, a breakdown that luckily led to a breakthrough and realizing, okay, I'm not gonna do this anymore the way I'm told to do. And if I don't do that, then I guess I have to come up with a different way and maybe kind of show a different way that for a lot of people, I think it's still unknown that you can do marketing in a gentle and humane way. So that's kind of the journey I went through. Yeah.
That's amazing. Um, I think we're bombarded with so much. Clearly, the aggressive, and I don't know if aggressive is the right term, but that style of marketing is what's presented to us as the way to market as a whole, right? Like trying to promote from what I see, right? Promoting my business online, trying to grow my business. That's what we're seeing as a whole. Would you agree to that?
Yeah, basically this all started in the 60s when marketers kind of discovered that we can link it to human psychology. And then if we use certain techniques and tactics like scarcity, for example, right, and urgency and all of these things that now we see on all the websites, and in a way also tapping into human emotions like shame, uh, that's what was being used, and that's what we were taught as online business owners to use in our marketing. And for our people, I'm sure your people agree with that as well, Misha, is that that doesn't feel good. We are not in business to shame our clients, to, push them and manipulate them, and to basically what I always say, well, people who use those kind of marketing techniques, they're taking their clients a bit for idiots, at least now, right? People see through all of this now, like maybe 10 years or 5 years even ago. They're like, well, okay, they didn't really get it that these are just marketing techniques. But now, I always say, like, after going through an era with what you had in the US with Trump and all this lying and cheating and all of that, well, now we question everything. And so we definitely question when there's things being marketed to us in this kind of manipulative way where it questions the human intelligence, really. That's what these marketing techniques do. Like you get to a website and it says, this deal is gone within 24 hours. It's your last chance to, look like blah, 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 this great person and to lose 10 pounds and whatever, how fast. And then you get to the same website 2 days later, and of course you get the same message again. And so we've all experienced this over and over again, realizing that we're just being manipulated and that these are just false urgency techniques that are being presented to us that are not real. And
Mm.
so these, yeah, again, to come back to my initial point, this was all discovered in the 60s when we were being taught that, well, we can link human psychology with sales and marketing.
Yeah, that's this is funny. This is kind of a strange thought, but I'm listening to this podcast right now. It's called gosh, I wish I had my phone and it handy in front of me, but it's basically talks about the history of successful businesses, and it can be tech businesses, it can be the NFL, it can be Costco, right? But I'm listening to the episode on the NFL and the rise of the NFL and the growth of the NFL, and it starts talking a lot about the proliferation of the TV, right? Radio
Hmm.
and then TV. And
Right.
what you just said about the 60s, that was really when the proliferation of the TV, I would say, matured, or I don't know if
Yeah.
matured is the right word. What, coming out of World War II in America, for example,
Hmm.
TVs start, TVs take over. They
Hmm.
talked about the number of televisions that it went from selling 12,000 a year to, you know, 50,000 a year to millions a year to all of a sudden in a matter of a few years, there's, 25
Everybody
million.
had one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone. But I'm just
Right.
thinking about that. It strikes me as like the growth of the television with the growth of this marketing tactics that came about in the 60s. Like there's sorry, it's 6 a.m. So my brain is, come on, brain.
Wake
There's like
up.
a parallel track there. Does that make sense, or do you
Yeah,
do
yeah,
you?
yeah. I think where I see you going with this, or at least what comes up for me is like, well, at the same time that the television developed, of course, also media on television developed, right? And so as we were all watching television, well, we're presented with all these ads and commercials. And so back then, the way that we were marketed to was very top down. It's like, okay, here's my new product, and this is excellent. That you have to buy this for this and this reason. And every person ran to the store to buy it because there was only one truth. That was the truth, right? Like what we saw on television was the truth. And so it was very top down and not at all, for the conscious client. The client didn't question anything. They didn't do their own research. There was no social media that, we could talk to each other. And so, in a way, that kind of pushy, manipulative marketing still feels like back in the 60s where we were just, being manipulated. But what these kind of marketers don't take into consideration is the fact that the client has evolved. Like, we have evolved consciously, emotionally, socially, like all this has changed. And so that's why there's a huge mismatch between the way we are still marketed to and between how we feel about this marketing and how we have evolved as conscious consumers. So that's why it doesn't feel good to so many people to be pitched to, like on LinkedIn. I hear this all the time. People are like, I'm so tired of getting these automated messages. Why? Because we don't like to be taken for idiots. Like we all know these are automated messages, and we're like, why are you pretending that this is real when it's actually not? So yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
love
what
that.
comes up.
Yeah, yeah, thank you for yeah, that's the point I was trying to
Yeah.
yeah, to get to or to shine a light on, I guess.
Hmm.
Um I'm just thinking as you're talking about this and as we the consumers become more aware of the marketing tactics that are thrown at us uh to 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 shame us, to scarcity and urgency, play on our emotions. We're pushed and manipulated, and it's interesting. I'm just thinking as you said all that, and I'm like, yeah, I am becoming more aware, but that as I go deeper and deeper into the online marketing space myself, and I'm learning more and it's how some of the aggressive marketers are just getting more refined with their tactics, right? So they're like, well, you may be getting smarter, but we're going to get better at playing on your emotions more subtly, or we're going to know so much about you that or your your fears, your neuroses that we're just going to more subtly or not so subtly take advantage. Yes.
Yeah, there's definitely a risk for that. And then of course there's now this thing that we call AI, right? That also comes into play. And so yeah, there's definitely always more sophisticated marketing, but I do believe in the consciousness evolution of the client, that we actually get smarter and really notice those small little things, and we're like, we're not gonna, we've fallen or spent our money on the wrong things probably twice or three times. And then we just learn from these mistakes, right? We're not
Yes.
going to spend $2,000 on a program that we were being told that is going to do miracles for us and it didn't work. We're not going to do that three times in a row. And so collectively, if you think about that, well, that's what's been happening over the last decade. And so there is, in my opinion, a limit to these hustle marketers, because they have to keep hustling. It's not like what I'm trying to create with humane marketing and talking to people about these humane strategies is for the long term, right? These are not transactional based strategies. These are relationship based strategies, and those are for the long term. Where the transactional based strategies, you can never stop, because the minute you
Mm.
stop, well, your whole business is gone. And so you have to keep hustling or keep paying for the ads. And they're always short-term results that you're providing for people. And so eventually that runs out as well. So yes, there's probably always going to be, part of the world that still works on that hustle model. But I do believe that the clients who are in our world, they have evolved consciously, and so that they are going to be more open for the relationship model and not so much the transactional model.
I love that. I like the way you have framed that, the transactional model versus the relationship model. Um, quick, I do have a bunch of questions I hope to get to, and I'm going to try and stay on track, but bear with me.
Sure.
Um, um, so we've got scarcity and urgency, which is an absolute tactic on in the online marketing space, right? And I'm not going to say it's good or bad. It can be an effective tool, right? But if
Right.
somebody has a business and they're trying to serve, and perhaps they don't feel good doing scarcity and urgency, like leveraging that, and they're like, well, the scarcity isn't true. Like you said, like I'm going to be available next week. what can somebody do on the like there's an inverse to that. Yes?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So what to do instead of using false urgency, right? Um, so like you said, let's make a point for urgency. Like urgency is valued if there actually is some kind of urgency to the offer. Like, you know, for example, if you have an early bird. So if there's some kind of deadline that you're like, I'm offering this at this price until that date, well, there's nothing wrong with mentioning that and saying, hey, I would love for you to take advantage of this offer because, yes, it helps me also to know, you know, if I'm going to fill this program. So having already 3 people signed up for the early bird, that is helping me as well. And just coming with this transparency and sharing the why you're offering an early bird so that it doesn't feel like you're just pushing for the money, but you're actually saying, look, help me help you. You know, this is a win-win for both of us. You're getting a better price, and I'm knowing already that I have 3 people signed up. I think that goes for a lot of things, just explaining, like transparency, because the reputation of a marketer is so bad right now. Like everybody mistrusts us,
Mm.
and we're not even all marketers. Like I always say on my podcast, I always say we're change makers before we are marketers, right? Marketing is not most of ours main occupation. We are coaches, we're consultants, we're healers, we're business owners, right? First. But we also need to market our business. And so that reputation right now and the trust level is so bad that it really helps explaining everything. And so if you, for example, let's say, okay, you have, it's December and you're like, well, I don't have anything planned. I don't have clients right now until January. Why not say it? Why not say, hey, I have an open spot right now, and I'm happy to kind of give you a discount for that offer. And then transparent, like with transparency, share that. Then it really shows, okay, there's an opening, and we're both basically being humans in this business relationship, right? And it just kind of lowers the, like you can see people like breathing out and going, oh wow, okay, so we're just humans talking about this, and there's no, like, they're not gonna, try to trick me or anything like that. So I feel like bringing transparency to kind of counter effect urgency really really helps.
Mm. Transparency to counter effect urgency. Is that what I just heard
Mm,
you say?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I love that. Um, you said you went through a breakdown that led to a breakthrough. And
Mm,
then you're like, wait a minute, I can show people a different way here, or I'm willing to try a different way here, or you started trying a different way when it comes to
right.
marketing. Are you, can you talk about that breakdown? Like, what was the breakdown? Was it,
Yeah, the
yeah.
breakdown was really just realizing I'm done with. So I had built a LinkedIn consultant agency and just really grew up in this online marketing world. Started my business in about 2008. And so really just feeling like I'm not meant for business. That's kind of like what I felt like. I don't fit into this tough business world anymore. Um, and then, yeah, so through therapy and through a lot of conversations, finding out, well, maybe it's just that I don't agree with the mainstream thoughts of how a business needs to be run, or also how marketing needs to be done. And so it's just kind of like breaking free from that system and giving myself permission to say, what if? What if we did it in another way? Who says you have to do this for marketing? Who says you have to, run these six-figure campaigns and all of that? Like there's so many shoulds in marketing and business that I just no longer felt like I can, yeah, fit into those. And so that was the breakdown, and really just detaching myself from that business where I always felt like I was wearing a mask. I was wearing this business mask where I'm like,
Mm,
I have to have it all together. I have to do marketing to kind of, you know, trick people into buying my services. And it just didn't feel good. I'm like, I have something to offer. And if the person needs that and it's a good time for that person, then there shouldn't be any kind of manipulation. It just be like two humans saying, "Hey, yes, I'd love to work with you. I'd love to give you my money because I really need what you have." And that's
mm.
what business really is, right?
Yeah, I love that. And I like the thought. I yeah, I do want to hear more about your breakdown because you said therapy, and I'm getting a sense that like perhaps you wanted to quit, or what have I got myself into, or this sucks, or
Right.
like how am I going to continue on, or I love what I do, I like marketing, I like all this, but can I survive in it, or do I have to go like you know change my career and be a checker at uh at a grocery store, or not that there's anything wrong with that, but if it's not in alignment, right? Am
Right.
I does that
Yeah, it was really the breakdown was really this idea of I'm not whole. I'm not being my true and entire self in this business. And that was a big deal for me because I'm like, I created this business because I wanted to. I didn't want to be in corporate. And so why am I creating a business that doesn't feel aligned with who I am? Why am I not in wholeness in this business, right?
mm,
And so that was really the breakdown and realizing I need to dramatically change the way I look at business, the way I talk to my clients about business and marketing. And so that, yeah, that was the breakdown. Did it change my career? Well, yeah, I let go of the LinkedIn consulting business and, created this movement that I call humane marketing. And I now work with change makers on their holistic business, right? That idea of, yeah, I want to be whole in business, but also I want to create change outwards. And then of course the marketing piece is part of that. But it's like I instead of, oftentimes we're zooming in. So I zoomed in to marketing and only worked on LinkedIn, and then I zoomed out again. And now I'm looking at marketing and business building and conscious business coaching as a whole. And I completely feel whole now in my business, which I didn't before. So that is the big, yeah, breakdown to break through.
I love that. I think too, if we can strip judgment out of it and go, okay, there is a lot of people call it bro marketing, let's say bro marketing, or these aggressive marketing tactics, or I like to strip out judgment and say there neither is good nor bad. What fits and is in alignment with you and makes you, I like how you said whole, right? Because there's
Right.
some people that love that style of marketing and are all in on it and they thrive in it, right? And so it's like, God bless, go ahead, right? But however, if you're like, well, no, I have a different vision of my marketing. There is another way. I I I've really been working with my coach on because I think coaches are so valuable, and you're a coach, and we've had a couple conversations, and I want to get to this one. You in a previous conversation, and I want to touch on this in a minute, but you said, look, I have a group program, but it's mainly about finding out who you are and what kind of vehicle is going to be good for you, and find one that's in alignment with you. And I love that thought. Um, but before we get to that, so that's going to be next. I want to speak to this idea of attraction rather than promotion, right?
Mm.
Like being so authentic and so, or again, I don't know if authentic's the right word, but true to ourselves, right? Like, uh, not saying that other people aren't true to themselves. Does that make sense when I say that? But
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, but being so in so alignment and really transparent. I love that idea of transparency that people are like, oh, I want to work with you because of your transparency, because of your humaneness, right? So more of an
Yeah,
attraction based kind of a thing. Yeah.
exactly. And it's obviously if we're talking about marketing, I feel like what a lot of people go for in marketing and is kind of brings us to the 7 P's of humane marketing. So when I looked at the 7 P's of marketing, the traditional 7 P's, um, they were very much outward focused. They were very much let's just go and chase after clients. And so if we consider this idea of, well, we need to find ourselves first, we need to be whole, we need to be true, authentic, and transparent, well, that means that we need to start with ourselves. We need to, find ourselves so that we can then bring ourselves into our marketing. And that's where the authenticity comes in, because you cannot learn authenticity, or you cannot learn to be authentic in a program that just teaches you this is how you're going to be authentic. No, you have to find out for yourself who you truly are. And so it's that self-discovery of finding to your true self that then helps you bring more of that into your marketing. And so that you're going to bring that into your messaging, you're going to bring that into your LinkedIn posts, into your about page. And that's where the authenticity happens. So when I talk about, sometimes when I'm on podcasts and people ask me, so tell me your, career. I'm like, well, I prefer to tell you my story about the headline, the hippie turned business coach, because that's the headline of my LinkedIn profile. And so the story goes is that I grew up in a hippie commune with my parents buying an apartment building with 6 other parties. And then we each had our own apartment, but I spent a lot of time with these people, and we still see each other every year at Christmas. And so the story is an authentic story because it's part of who I am, how I grew up. And of course, it relates to humane marketing because in a hippie commune, as you can imagine, well, you have those kind of values, right? You have the values of community, empathy, collaboration, conflict resolution as well. So all of these values that I found back to in this journey of finding my whole self. And so that's what it is for me. Humane marketing was the logical brand evolution of myself finding my true self. And so that's what I encourage people. And when I coach them, that's what it takes to have a brand that stands out and that really feels authentic. That it's not just about a bunch of posts. It really is that inner work and finding what motivates you, what's your why, what's your worldview. I talk a lot about the worldview in marketing because now, compared to what we started the conversation with, the 60s, nobody was talking about any kind of worldview or values, and it was all just about, well, let's just make the sales, right? Where now, in this political environment that we're in, especially right now, well, we are finding ourselves being attracted by people who have a similar worldview. It's just natural. That's, human. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't also be open to other worldviews. It's still a very good idea to do that. But naturally, we're going to want to work with people who have a similar worldview. So people who are attracted to the word humane marketing, well, they're attracted to my kind of view on marketing. And so that's the whole story of why authentic, or kind of like why this inner work matters, so that it turns into client resonance or client attraction. So the program that you were referring to, it's called the Marketing Like We're Human program, aka the Client Resonator. And what we do in that program is start from the inner work so that then we can bring all of us to our marketing and resonate with the ideal clients. Because I think that is so key when we build a business that we truly enjoy every day, that we go out there and work with clients and that they're ideal clients because we do our best work with the people that we love working with, right?
Yeah. And I think when we're in that zone, and of course we're humans, so we're pinging in and out of that zone all the time. But
Right.
when we're in it and working to be in that space, I think we do naturally attract more people, and we're creating the environment to bring more like-minded people in, right?
For
So
sure.
it becomes a lot more, I think it becomes almost effortless, or less effort is involved. It feels less like work. It's more like,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. So about finding out who you are and what kind of vehicle is good for you. So I was struck by that when you said it. So maybe we can talk to the audience about, okay, well, we've helped you find out who you are. Now let's talk about what kind of vehicle is good for you. So what do you mean when you say vehicle, and then, vehicle that's good for you and in alignment with you? And maybe
Yeah.
you can even yeah, go ahead.
hmm So whenever over the last 10, 15 years, whenever I came across this new marketing strategy or new platform or new coach, and you think, oh, I need this, right? This is going to be successful for me and it's going to get me new clients. And then maybe you buy the program and then, a few months later, you're like, well, this is just doesn't feel good, or maybe why is it not working? Most of the time it's because it's not aligned to who you are as a human being, how you're wired, what your skills are, your natural tendencies, where it may work really well for that person that created it, um, because maybe they were an extrovert and maybe they loved speaking on stage, and you're a super introvert and you're like, speaking on stage, that sounds like terrifying, right? So why would you buy a program that teaches you how to sell off the stage, right? So it's just like really, really important to figure out who you are and how you're wired so that you can then choose the marketing technique that is aligned with who you are. Do you like writing? Do you prefer podcasting? Do you prefer to, lead a group on Facebook? Do you prefer to like measure all your traffic and create Facebook ads or Google ads? All of this, um, all of this you will know when you find out who you are and how you're wired. And we're using different personality assessments, like, the Myers-Briggs is one of them. The Enneagram is one of them. Human design is another assessment. So all of these things give you information on how you are uniquely wired, so that then you can go and find out, well, okay, if I'm wired like this, then this is what I need. Like, for example, in human design, there's this one type that's called projector. And a projector is just it's really challenging to create initiatives. And so for someone who's a projector in human design, it's much easier actually to, for example, hire a virtual assistant who's gonna, do all the outreach or create the opportunities. So it's just small things like that that help you figure out, well, who are you? What kind of marketing activity is going to work for you? And then the vehicle idea is, well, which platform are you going to use, right? Is it going to be Facebook, LinkedIn? So which kind of social media platform? Are you going to be podcasting? Are you going to be creating a LinkedIn audio event? So just figuring out, well, which one of those things creates joy for you, because that's usually the one that you're actually really good at.
Mm, I love that. So as far as your clients are concerned, are you finding mostly people that are perhaps beginning stages, coaches, consultants, healers, call it what you will, where they're like, all right, I've got this idea. I've helped some people. I can serve. I'm being inspired to serve in a bigger way. Uh, but I'm stuck or I'm in a rut or I don't know what to do. Or does that question make
Mhm.
sense? Or yeah.
Yeah. For my one-on-one coaching, I actually work best with people who already have 5 years experience or more, and oftentimes they're in a kind of a transition as well, similar to what I experienced. So either they are growing out of their business and wanting to create a new one, or they're wanting to create a pivot in their business, or they just feel like they're hit. They have this ceiling that they hit, and they're like, well, how do I go beyond? So those are the one-on-one coaching clients. And then for the program, it's actually all three types: either completely new to business, and just saying, I want to market my business the humane way. So how do I learn about that, and how do I create my offering based on my why? And so often they're coaches or consultants who are just kind of like finished their coaching degree and like, okay, I want to go out there and create my offering. Or again, they have 5 years experience or even more, like 10 plus years experience. And then often that's combined with a one-on-one coaching agreement. But yeah, it really is, the program especially is a foundational program, but it's a foundational program that so often has been overlooked by people who are just starting out. And just, oftentimes what do? We put something quickly together, a website, and then we're like, okay, I have to go out there and market and learn how to do Facebook ads and learn how to do, LinkedIn posts. And so they haven't actually taken the time to deeply think about who they are, who their client is, what their offering is, and how that all feeds into their marketing. So it's almost kind of like a going back and going deeper. I would say all my clients are definitely deep thinkers. That's kind of like one keyword that people are like, yeah, I resonate with being a deep thinker. And yeah, caring deeply about clients and also the planet. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that deep thinker. I would absolutely say I fall into that bucket, which
Yeah.
is
It's just,
amazing. Oh, go ahead.
or you're like yes or no, right? You just know. Okay, yeah. Definitely a deep thinker. Yeah.
Yeah, out of the gate, out of the womb, I was thinking
Yeah.
deep at 6, 7 years old, contemplating the
Yes.
infinity or
Yeah.
whatever.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
love that. Do you have any, favorite success stories of, well, what I'm hearing too is I think anybody sort of in the first 5 years or even the first year or somebody who has just completed their, coaching certification or whatever, I'm thinking if they jumped into your program, boy, how fast could they accelerate their growth or their success or their impact by really honing in right away, like, okay, this is who I am, right? We lock that in, and now let's get the vehicle locked in quicker versus like thinking that I think sometimes as humans or as that we go like it's like I don't really like going interacting on Facebook, but for some reason my brain's like, well, that's the one I'm gonna figure out, right? Where it's like, well, no, there's so many there's LinkedIn, there's this, there's that, there's podcasting, there's blogging,
Yeah.
I mean,
I find
well,
that in the first 5 years of being in business, it's like throwing spaghetti at the wall, right? And kind of trying a little bit, and this didn't work, and I'm gonna try this, and then I'm gonna try this and that. And so it's almost, and that's why I say most of my clients kind of have this 5 years experience, because it almost feels like it's human to have to go through these mistakes before you're like, okay, done it all. Now I'm going to do it the right way and go back to the foundation. Because as humans, we just want fast success, right? And
Yeah.
so we're like, oh, but this is going to take a long time. And who said that, being in business and I have to do inner work? Oh my God. So it's like, it's faster to go after the fast results and just learn a course on ads, on all of this. And so it's almost like, yeah, I sometimes wonder, every now and then I have these really, I guess they're just super smart clients who are like, no, I want to do it right from the get-go. And so I'm like, wow, I applaud you, because for most of us, me included, it's like this big detour where you're like, oh my God, spent all this money on learning how to do Facebook ads. And, in the end, it doesn't work because it's just not for me. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a bit of a detour sometimes.
Any favorite stories of success stories of somebody or people or clients who you've helped, before and after stories or anything?
Yeah. Yeah, I usually record case studies to just kind of give that before and after effect. And what most of them would say is the the like they view marketing completely differently. They don't view it as this thing that they have to do, but they just view it as part of their flow. It's like, well, because it comes from within, it's just something that I want to share. And it's not like this motion that I have to go through as
Mm.
being part of creating these ads. And so part of that is that. And then also, usually the results are not instant. So the program is 3 months. And then the results are usually not instant, because it takes some time. And that's again, that's I walk my talk. I do admit that it will take some time, but usually when I do another check-in a year after, that's when I hear the success stories, and they're like just really feeling like the resonance is there with their clients, because they can see that difference and they can see that transparency and that yeah, the resonance, right? And so
Yeah.
that's usually when I'm like, okay, yes, this this is working. It does take probably some more time, but when it does, then it's forever, and that's the nice
Mm.
thing, right? It's not a quick
Mm.
fix, it's really forever. Yeah.
Mm. I love that. By the way, anyone listening, if you're resonating with what Sarah is saying and intrigued or excited by the things that Sarah is talking about, you can go to sarahsantacroce.com and follow along. And I encourage everybody to go to her website, and it's Sarah excuse me, let me start over. Santacroce. I'm going to say it again. Santacroce.com and check out your website. But it's so inviting, honestly.
Mhm.
Like it's so inviting. I look at it and I'm like, yeah, this is inviting. And you say cool things about, my big mission is to bring more empathy and kindness to the business world and to bring a humane or a human connection back to business and marketing and uh
Yeah, thank
and
you. Can I also just add another website, which is
yeah.
probably a bit easier to remember, which is humane.marketing. So that's my newer website. So I have the personal one, Sarah Santacroce, and then humane.marketing. And if listeners are wanting to find out more about this idea of the 7 P's of marketing, you can go to humane.marketing/one page, the number one, and then the word page. And that is it's a download of a one-page marketing plan that comes with email prompts to really help you reflect on these different P's for your business. So really coming from this place of within. What does this mean for me? Passion, the first P. What does this mean, this personal power? How am I wired personally? And then it goes through people and promotion, et cetera, et cetera. But it's a reflective exercise and not a prescriptive exercise.
I love that a reflective exercise, not a prescriptive exercise. By the way, there's fun stuff in here. I'm just looking at it right now. A 7-day email series to fill out your working canvas for the often forgotten but incredibly important pre-work that most marketers avoid. You've got, oh, this is great. Anybody definitely needs to go to it. Humane.marketing/, what did you say?
One page,
One
number
page.
one and the word page. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very cool. I'm just one page. Okay. Yeah, everybody needs to check it out. But you said what did you just say? Prescriptive versus
Yeah.
yeah.
Reflective versus prescriptive. Like again, with the deep thinkers like to be reflective. They want to think about things. They want to question their assumptions. They don't want to just follow a list of things, this is how it's done. It's like, what if, and how does this look like for you and your business? So it's like I'm posing the questions, and I'm giving examples, but then it's up to you to fill out the one-page marketing plan.
I love that. I like this reflective versus prescriptive because so much of the marketing or so much of the tactics are just do it. Here's your 5 steps, right? And they don't
Exactly.
leave a lot of space for that reflection. And so
Yeah.
if we're reflective types, that's a hard wall to bust through, right? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Again, it kind of sometimes I feel like we're being talked down to. Like,
Mm,
like,
just
it
do it.
doesn't feel like we're at the same level
Yeah,
when,
stop asking questions. Just do it.
yes, like just, it feels like a teacher, at high school.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
stop asking questions, just
Yeah,
do it.
you're treating us like kids again, right? Like,
Yeah.
my parents didn't know how to handle me. They're like, you are way too reflective with too many questions that I
Exactly.
can't answer. So just
Yeah.
do it, would you?
Yeah. Shut up and do it.
Shut up and do it.
Yeah.
Um, you sent me so many amazing questions, by the way. Everybody, like you just are so thoughtful and amazing. So I love this. And I'm gonna get to some of the questions that you sent me that I could ask you because it will give such great insight into who you are and how you can help people too, or how you like to help people. So I want to get to these questions in a second. But first, I want to say that a previous conversation that we had, you said to me, "Hey, I don't really teach tactical marketing anymore, although tactical marketing is an easier sell." And hold on, and I'm gonna let you speak to that in a second. You said, "Hey, I help people work on their message, their foundation." And you were talking again, we've been talking about foundational work, and I love the foundational work. And I love your perspective of foundational work, but reflective. Like, let's do this in a reflective way that encourages the questions versus what did you say, prescriptive. Um, but anyway, so talk to me about I don't teach tactical marketing anymore, although tactical marketing is an easier sell.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of similar to what we were just saying about, it's easier to sell a program that teaches here's how to do Instagram posts, or what I used to do before, here's how to improve your LinkedIn profile, right? It's an easier sell because that's the first thing people want. People
Mm.
don't want to go deep. People don't want to necessarily go and work on their foundation, at least not in the first 5 years of business. And so that's why I was saying, well, the tactical marketing is that. It's like the small nitty gritty of, how do I do this? How do I do a newsletter, right? And that's the first thing that comes up during the first 5 years of business. People are like, well, how do I do that? And so that's what they want to learn without first spending time on their foundation and their why and their worldview and their all of that.
Mm.
So I could teach all of that, but I've kind of grown out of this phase. And so now I bring in other people or I refer to other people because we still need that. I'm not saying that is not valuable, but it's just not my role anymore today. And so I like to go deeper and work on the foundation. And once you figured out, okay, this is my vehicle, these are my platforms, then I can send you to the right people who can teach you how to use these certain vehicles or platforms.
I love it. I love your unrelenting commitment to the foundation. You're
Thank
like,
you.
you are not taking me away from the foundational talk because that's what I'm about. I love that. So, here we go. Some of the questions that you sent me that I was like, hey, send me some questions that maybe I could ask you, Sarah. And you're like, awesome. Here's a great list. So here's one of them, which I think is amazing. How do we make marketing beautiful?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was kind of part of the breakdown. It was like, I just felt like nothing was beautiful anymore. Nothing was whimsical. It was also when I started um, this research for humane marketing. I came across the book from Daniel Pink called A Whole New Mind, call it A Whole New Mind. I don't see it right now. Something with the mind, but it's basically about the difference between right brainers and left brainers, and how over the last decades we've just really all gone and forgot about our right brain. And the right brain is the one that deals with beauty and with
Mm,
magic and with surprises and all of that. And so all of that has been taken away from marketing, and we just only started on the as focused on the left brain, which is numbers and conversions and transactions and very left brain oriented. And so I feel like it's time to bring back the human connection. That is beautiful,
mm,
right? And we
mm.
don't really focus on that or haven't in the past because it just had to be quick and fast. So sell from your website rather than have a conversation first. Well,
Mm.
I feel like it's time to reverse all of that again and slow things down and take the time to have a conversation before you sell something. Add some of the whimsical and the surprises and all of that. So that's what the
Yeah,
beauty is. Yeah.
I like that. You spoke earlier, you had said something about, I think what's presented to us as well as online marketers, and maybe it's because this is where the biggest budgets are or the most Facebook ad money's been being spent, but it's this idea of six-figure launches and growth and
Mhm.
crushing it and two comma club awards and things like this, and that's the metric of success, right? And speed, and we're not growing fast enough. I think that's a lot of what taps into our insecurities, or mine
Yeah,
anyway.
of course. Yeah. The minute you come with 6 or 7 figure numbers, that's all shaming because it feels shameful that you're not at 6 or 7 figures yet. And so every time that's being used in a headline, that's the button they're pushing. And so
Mm,
that for me was the first thing to go in my switch to humane marketing. I'm like, I'm not, well, I haven't used it like for a long time before, but I was also refusing to promote anybody or, help or have partnerships with anybody who was using that kind of marketing because
mm,
it is just it's creating a lot of damage in our society to have that kind of shaming going on with, with regards to how much you're making, and oftentimes it's not even true. So yeah, that was the big one to go, any kind of 6 or 7 or 8 figure headlines. I'm like, no, thank you.
Yeah, it's so interesting too. Um, I'll see a lot of those marketers who are very who will say I who literally crater and collapse emotionally, right? And then they go on Facebook and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm burned out. I have to go back to my family and this and that and things
Yeah.
like that." It's so funny. Or being in the space now for a few years, 3, 4, 5 years myself, very actively and taking lots of coaching programs and courses, and I love it all. But is that so many people that have six-figure businesses, they have six-figure revenue, they have seven-figure revenue, eight-figure revenue even, but their profit margins are oftentimes slim to none. And then when there's a tweak in the algorithm, you know, their businesses collapse. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, because it's that hustle mode, because their expenses are so high to keep getting these numbers in, that the minute, yeah, like you said, there's a change in the algorithm, or they just stop the hustle, well, then there is no more revenue either.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And I just think too, like great questions are like, what's wrong with a nice little profitable business where you're making where you have $200,000 or $300,000 revenue with a 50% profit margin or a 40% profit margin, and it's a win for you, it's a win for your client, it's a win for the world, right? Like
Right.
what's wrong with that? Why
Yeah.
why why are we all trying to get away from that? You know?
Right.
It's or even a nice little $100,000 business or whatever, right? That's
Whatever is right for you, as long as you have the quality of life that you strive for. To me, that's much more important than any kind of number. If
yeah,
you are, live, it also depends where you live. If your rent is really cheap, why would you want all that? What are you going to do with all that money?
right.
As usually it's not the types who give it back to the planet. They're just accumulating wealth to for their ego. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And and I think the inner work that you talked about, or foundational work, or just being true to ourselves, it's like holding that line and holding that course when we're bombarded with the other that can feed on
Missing
our
out, right?
insecurities,
Yeah.
missing out and this and that. And
Yeah.
so the more we can be foundationally strong, which you
Right.
continue to speak about, the more we can hold true to ourselves. And that's sort of the human battle too, right? I think
Of
for
course.
anybody
Yeah.
is
Yeah. I
to
think the chance that we have as entrepreneurs is that we are on this personal development journey as well, that a lot of times we're missing out if we're just, employees somewhere. We don't get to ask ourselves these deeper questions. Who am I? What is my enough? How much do I need really to live a good life?
mm,
These questions you don't ask yourself when you're on your career journey at a big corporation. You just always, feel like you need more and more and more. So I
yeah,
think it's an invitation to also yeah, again, think deeply.
yeah.
That's
And
kind of my spiel.
yeah, I love what you presented too. It's like time to slow down, breathe,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And even
Mm-hmm.
just me saying that right now, I'm like, yeah, that's a nice place to hang out, right? It's like where
Right.
I like to hang out these days.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, and we're coming close on time here. I want to be cognizant of everybody's time. But another question here, and then we'll wrap it up. Instead of talking about a sales funnel, you suggest a sales path with signposts. Maybe
Hmm.
talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's a whole conversation there. Maybe people can go to my website also I wrote a book about that. So the second book is called Selling Like We're Human. And so the idea is really also that we're coming away from this idea of funneling people down a a funnel, right? Because that is not humane. It's used for animals, in fact, and even for those, it's not always humane how they're treated to, go down this funnel. And so, really looking at a gentle sales path where our clients have different options that we guide them through this path, um, giving the client the power back. Client sovereignty is a big keyword for me. It's like, well, if you are dealing with your clients in a humane way and you respect them, like we said, on the same level, you think of them as smart human beings, well, then you don't want to push them through a funnel. You want to guide them through a gentle sales path that has different options. Yes, you can go straight, right? I want to work with you. I know what I want. And yes, let's have a conversation. But there's also detours and there's exit paths because it's like, well, we're not for everybody. And so here's a door and you find someone else. But just
Yes.
having this conversation of realizing why are we wanting to, kind of create a funnel when a gentle sales path is such a more flowing and humane way of looking at this. That's the invitation here to think about.
I I love that. It's great. I'm just thinking too, of well, a couple of thoughts that I have. Um, one is right, like this idea of like you are free to go, right? Like perhaps we're not a good fit. So here's the door, right? Versus
Yeah,
this,
in a gentle way. It's like,
yes, versus like shaming tactics to be like, well, how can you leave? You're quitting, right?
yeah.
Like, you know, man up, stick with it, whatever.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Where it's like, oh no, maybe you need to divert for a little bit. Here you go. Like it's
Yeah.
been great. Thank you
Yeah.
for supporting me. And
Right. Exactly.
I love
Yeah.
that. I was
Mm.
I'm also thinking too about I joined this high-end coaching group. It's about $25,000 a year, and I loved it. It was great. Um, the one thing I noticed about it though was it was definitely built on numbers. They were like, it's going to be successful by the amount of people that rush in at any time we open the door, right? And the onboarding experience was so horrible. It did
Mm.
not set me up for success, right? Like I had to survive the onboarding process and find success within this coaching group in spite of it, right? And as I was in it for a few years, I watched and they finally have started to get um, the onboarding process better. My perception of it to help set someone up for success. And so
Right.
our
Right.
conversation has got me thinking about this and about what I'm doing as well as and making sure, like make sure my foundation is strong and make sure like a key foundational piece for what I'm doing is the onboarding process, right? And so neglecting that, my intuition has been like refine this onboarding process. You don't need to bring in a whole like don't bring in 1,000 people and figure it out by blowing it up. Like, but maybe
Yeah.
like does that make sense? Or
Yeah, yeah, no,
maybe
onboarding and offboarding are super important in the sales process. Both of those are super
yeah.
important. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I was just thinking like the urgency to create this storm of
Hmm.
clients.
Hmm.
And so now you're not serving them well because the onboarding process is so
Yeah.
horrible that
Mhm. And
you
then
know,
they're not going to tell their friends about it, right?
yeah.
Because they felt lost. Yeah.
Anyway, just a thought I had.
Yeah.
But I believe we could go on and on and on, and you have so many great questions in here. Like, well, we kind of touched on what's wrong with traditional marketing, but you've got, did you
Maybe I
before
need
we,
to come back, Misha.
yes, I think
I'll do
so. I
another
think so. Because
round.
yes, I do want to touch on your version of the seven P's of marketing. You know, why is selling so uncomfortable for so many of us? How can we become better at selling? Um, it's so much great stuff. But again, before we stop here, was there anything that you were really hoping to say that you didn't get to say, or that something's come up where you're like, oh, you made me think about this, and I wished I'd have said this before we signed off here. Is there anything?
Yeah. I think one of the key pieces that I always encourage to people to think about after listening to me talk about this is the idea of awareness. So just becoming aware, if I have managed to get you to become aware of how you feel after being marketed to maybe in a non-humane way, of being manipulated, maybe even on the subconscious level, and then with this awareness, then also being able to apply it to your own business and say, wait a minute, is what I'm sending out here because I learned it in this program, is that how I want to show up in the world? Is that how I want my clients to see me? And then together, we will change the way we market and make it into something more kind and empathetic. I think it all starts with awareness.
It's beautiful. Thank you for that. Again, everybody, you can go to humane.marketing/one page, and that's the number one page. So humane.marketing/one page, the number one typed out. I mean, the number one, like the numeral
Yeah.
one. There we go.
Yes. One and then the word page. Yeah.
And then you also referenced your Selling Like We Are Humane, your book, The Selling Like We Are Humane. So everybody should check that out as well. And I'm going to hit stop and then we'll say goodbye offline.
Thank you, Mischa. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Table Rush Talk Show. For resources to help you sell your stuff, go to BEL.